What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you're now entering the Cinema Chop Shop. So park your ass right there. And while you're there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, and the subscribe button. Also, if you check the link below, you see a Patreon account. You click, you become a member. All you got to do is try, recommend movies and music and trailers for me to react to. So click the link. Now, with that being said, we're here today with a 2022 film by the name of The Curse. Now, a lot of people have not heard about this. I mean, I've seen trailers here and there, and I mean, based off of the trailers alone, the movie looked interesting. It's directed by Sean Ellis. Sean Ellis apparently has a pretty good start as a director. He has like a short film that's been nominated for some awards. He has a couple of it seems like a couple of British films that have been nominated for some awards, and then we also have a cast that has Boyd Holbrook, Kelly Riley, Allstar, Petrie, Roxanne Duran, and Rose Daly. I mean, these are all, and then looking up their I guess like their filmography, most of these actors and actresses, they have a lot of roles, have a lot of roles. But the thing is, they weren't really main characters in movies. And now this kind of makes sense with some of my gripes with the movie, but we'll get into that later. So the movie is simple. It's following it's set a very long time ago with muskets and gunpowder and the guns and stuff like that during that time frame. And we have this family who's very wealthy and owns the land. And their family just so happens to end up being cursed by a band of gypsies. And the whole movie is basically them trying to reverse the curse and also battle this beast that has been plaguing their settlement, I guess, per se, that's been plaguing their settlement since they did what they did to the gypsies. Now, I don't want to get into too much details, but let's get into the nitty gritty, right? So, story wise, the story's fine. I mean, the story is actually really good. And when you're watching this movie, you kind of, I get, I'm getting werewolf vibes, right? Like, I feel like this is a werewolf movie, but when you see the beast per se, it's not a werewolf. Like it doesn't look like a werewolf. This movie is like kind of like it's like a quasi hybrid between like Pumpkinhead meets the Wolfman type deal, you know. But this everything about this movie, like the lore and things like that, it screams werewolf. But once you see the central antagonist, you know, like that's when you kind of get the okay, maybe it's not a wolf, you know, maybe it's not a werewolf vibe. But I mean, I don't know. I have not really looked into the deep lore of a werewolf, but you know, it's kind of hard to tell based off of what we got. It doesn't look like a werewolf, but at the same time, the lore makes it seem like it's a werewolf. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, the script itself is fine. The idea that's being proposed is fine. It's not something that we haven't unheard of. We've actually heard about, we've seen plenty of movies just like this. Like, you know, it's nothing trying to reinvent the wheel. It's done really well. It's set in a very interesting age where most of these werewolf movies and Dracula and vampire movies take place. They all take place around the same time period. So it's nothing there. But I will say that one thing that this movie does very well is it does use practical effects in certain areas of the film. Now, I wish it would have went full practical effects when filming this movie, but they didn't, and that's one of my gripes, and I'll get into that later. Um, like I said, the practical effects still the damn movie. There's certain shots. Also the filmography in this movie is the cinematography in this movie is freaking great. Great. Like the shots that they use, the slow moving through the hallway, the settings, the way that they use smoke, and the ways they use the dark presence of like they just use the darkness of the set and it works in their favor. It's really good. Whoever the director of this movie does a really good job. He has a really good eye for angles and camera work. So that's a good thing, you know. That's a really good thing. But let's get into the acting. The acting in the movie is okay. Like, you know, it's okay. Um when I was watching this movie, I felt like even though the acting was cool and I feel like maybe the kids were the ones kind of bringing it a little bit. Um for these veteran actors, I was expecting a little bit more. Like now looking at their filmography, I'm like, well, maybe it's because they never were presented into a leading role, and this is why they don't know how to act. Like they not that they don't know how to act. Of course they know how to act, but I'm just saying like they don't know how to take over a role. The main antagonist guy, Seamus, I think his name is. I wanted more from him. Like he was like the king or the one that oversaw the whole land, and I wanted more from him. I felt like he had King Longshanks from Braveheart type vibes, and I just feel like he never reached that potential. And it's really, I really felt like he should have maybe embodied the character and kind of made it his own. But because of that, his character just became another character and just kind of blended in with the story. And he never did, he never had an opportunity to stand out. And I really felt like his character had a chance to stand out, and he could have been a douche, and it would have been like, okay, yeah, like you're a standout character. I like you, based off of the performances that you're giving. But it just seems like he just went in there, did what he had to do, and went home. Maybe that's at per request of the director, but at the same time, like I really wish he would have gave us a little bit more. Also, there's another main character who's a pathologist, and also he also kind of just blends in with the story. You feel like he's very important to the story. He is an important piece of the story to the story, but it doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't feel like he just belongs in the story. Like he can die any moment, and you'll just be like, okay, like you'll accept it because he doesn't really embed himself into the emotions of an audience, if that makes any sense. Like I said, these two characters really had a chance to connect with the audiences, and they didn't. And they by not doing this, they're not memorable characters, which means like by the end of the movie, you're just like, yeah, Um, Another thing that they do in this movie is they utilize CGI. Now, everybody knows how I feel about CGI. I'm not a huge fan of CGI. Some of the CGI shots were okay, but at the same time, it's like if you're going to convince me that we have a beast in our presence, I feel like maybe you should have went the animatronic route. And if by any chance if you did use an animatronic, it had to be coated with CGI because it looked CGI generated, And it's kind of crazy because when you're watching this movie and some of the gore takes place, you're like, okay, I know that's practical. I know that's practical. That has to be practical too. So it was kind of like a slap in the face when you're watching the movie, and it's like, damn, like they had an opportunity to make a CGI beast and they didn't. Also, I wasn't really cool. Maybe it's because I didn't really get to see it, but the design of the beast wasn't all that. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It wasn't all that. I felt like maybe they could have went back to the drawing board, but it just kind of gave me like Pumpkinhead on all fours type vibes. The design wasn't too much to be like, it didn't woo me, if that makes any sense. And the best thing about horror movies now, or any movies in general, like you have, if you're gonna make a fucking character, you have to make this character stand out. You have to make the audiences want them. You have to make the audience, like that's how you become cult classics. That's how you become a fan favorite. Is only when you appeal to the audiences. When you say, "Yo, that's a dope ass monster. I like that monster. I want to have that monster as a figure." But then it's kind of like this monster just kind of blends in with every other monster, and it doesn't really do a really good job at standing out. So it kind of just as the main characters in the movie, it blends along with the story as well. Um, Overall, like I said, the movie's fine. The CGI is like, yeah. And I mean, here's the thing, and I'm gonna go into this a little bit later for those of you who have seen this movie. The ending of the movie kind of just happens, it just hits you, and you're just like, okay, like what I just see, like it just the ending happens, and it has like this really quick montage that ties in the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. And when the screen goes dark and the credit starts rolling, you start to really think to yourself like, okay, what does that mean? Like it took me a minute. I thought about it, and I'm pretty sure I got a clear cut answer for it. So if you guys want an ending explained, it'll be at the end of the damn video. But yeah, dude, like I don't know. This movie could have been really good, but also it kind of like suffers from like being all over the place. At one moment it seems supernatural, then other times it feels kind of like a monster movie, and like you're kind of just like, why don't you stick to one? Like the supernatural element at the beginning was really really cool. The enticing by the cursed people, that was really cool. But then I think when it became a monster movie, it kind of lost its way, and that's just in my opinion. Like it kind of lost its way. Like it kind of ditched the supernatural element and it just became a full-fledged monster movie. And it would have been really cool to kind of like backpedal and backtrack into it. So some of the cool shit that you see in the trailer, that's kind of it, like some of the supernatural, like spiritual shit, it's all in the trailer, and it's kind of like what you're left with. So I was kind of expecting more on a supernatural tip, and that was kind of disappointing. So we're gonna go ahead and grade this thing right real quick. Here on the Cinema Chop Shop, we grade movies in three ways. Count them three ways. Either you get bodied and sent to the bowels of hell, meaning your movie was basura, homie, trash, garbage filled, landfill, all that good shit. Or it was a big fat meh, means Masamento's mediocre, mid-range, mid-grade, all that good shit. Or you get spared and I say your movie's dope, awesome, terrific, give that man an Oscar, and all that good shit. But I'm gonna have to give this movie a big fat meh.
Not quite my tempo.
Not impressed.
But it can be better.
Mediocre.
Meh.
But the TV gave me the impression that...
We said meh. M-E-H. Meh.
Yeah, you heard it, folks. I'm gonna have to give this movie a meh. And the reason why I'm doing so is because although I liked it, although the story was fun, and although the gory shit and the practical effects were cool, I feel like it was lacking in the character department. I feel like I was expecting more from these characters. I feel like I was kind of expecting more from this monster. I'd rather have a practical effect monster. I actually would have expected more from this story. Like the story could have been a little bit more tight niched. It could have been more at stake. Like I felt like, I don't know, man. It just kind of didn't hit me the way I wanted it to hit me. So, I'm going to go ahead and explain the movie, if you guys don't mind. So if you have not seen the movie, go ahead and adios out of this damn video. But if you have seen the movie, stay on and stay tuned. So I'm gonna give you a minute, and I'm assuming you're gone. So with that being said, let's go ahead and explain the ending of this movie. So at the beginning of the movie, the man that gets shot in the beginning of the movie during, I believe it's World War II, possibly, was it World War I? Whatever war it was that introduced mustard gas. Anyway, this dude was shot and they're freaking operating on him and they take out a silver bullet. And then the movie flashes back, what is it, 30 years into the past. And then we live the life who it turns out that the freaking dude that got shot is the little kid, right? So at the end of the movie, it flashes back to the war, and we find out that the dude, the pathologist guy, he took care of these kids, he raised them as his own, and then the boy went off into war. Then the girl, she stayed and was with him on a deathbed. And at the end of the movie, she places that third, because there's two bullets. There was three bullets made with the teeth, and then he shot the boy with one of them, and he kept the other two. Now, at the end of the movie, the girl puts the third bullet back on the shelf, which means that the young man died during war, and they sent back the little silver bullet and reunited with the family or whatever, because old boy died on the front lines. So I kind of, like I said, when I saw that, I was just like, I was wondering, like, is there more to this? Is this like the bullet left them and then all of a sudden he transformed back into the monster because the curse wasn't done? Like, what is this? Like, what are we doing here? Like, did he transform back and did he come back and bring them the damn silver bullet? Like, what's going on here? Like I was kind of at a loss for words. I think I was overthinking it. And it's such a simplistic ending, but I was sitting there expecting something a little bit more complicated, and it wasn't even that. So, yeah, that's pretty much the ending. And like I said, like when we're going, like, think how simplistic that is. It's such a simplistic storyline, and it's like I really thought this movie was going to step out of it. I thought we were going to see more from the scarecrow dude. I thought we were going to see more from the freaking witch lady, the gypsy witch lady, that was buried. Like, they baited us. Like, she had absolutely nothing really to do with the damn movie. It's other than like kind of like setting forth the wheels. And it's crazy because they're such cool looking characters, especially when she rises from the dead or in the dreams. And you have the scarecrow dude leading the dude's family back into the woods. Like, all of that stuff seems so irrelevant now when you're thinking about it, because the whole movie was about the beast. It was all about the beast. And then it's like you're watching this movie and it's like it feels like a werewolf. Silver bullet, oh, it's like wolf-like marks, things like that. And it was funny because it was like it's a pumpkin head looking naked thing, like I don't know. But well, anyway, that's my review. That's my review. Let me know if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Drop it in the comment section down below. And you are now exiting the Cinema Chop Shop. Hope you guys are having a magnificent day. And adios, homies.